The constable leads us into the booking area. On the right is the clerk's desk, on the left are the holding cells. The clerk's desk is about 5 feet high, roughly coming up to my neck. Perched on high stools behind the counter are two of the fattest birds I have ever seen. Neither one is over 5 feet tall, but they must have a combined weight of nearly a ton. I can't begin to comprehend the physics behind them climbing onto those stools, but nonetheless, there they sat. Neither one is in a hurry to get any work done. They're content to shoot the breeze with the constable, commenting on what a nice June day it is outside and how they're stuck indoors. After 10 minutes of pleasantry, they process Arcadia's paperwork. She's the girl I came in with. A phone call summons a guard, and the guard parades her past the holding cells. As she passes, every guy in every cell presses his face against the plexiglass, pounding and making every cat call he can think of like it's really going to get him any. It's standard operating procedure anytime any female passes, inmate or guard. Most of the guards pound the glass right back. She disappears around the corner, and that's the last time I ever see her. Another 20 minutes of listening to the wind whistle between the clerk's ears. They make another phone call, and a guard comes out to process me. He's a stick of a man, my height, but rail thin. His name's Mitchell, and he's no nonsense. I'm in the habit of calling the guards guards, but the real title is really corrections officer, CO, and Mitchell insists on being called officer. The paperwork is little more than an inventory of what I have in my pockets, driver's license and a few dollars in change. Floating about the hallway are worker inmates. They wear bright yellow shirts with the word inmate printed on the front and back in big block letters. One of these guys hands me a bag containing standard issue prison quarter. 2 dark blue uniforms, washcloth and bath towel, bar of soap and hotel-size shampoo, a woolly, and a pair of Jackie Chan's. A woolly is a thin blanket that looks like wool, but it's really 100% acrylic. It's hypoallergenic, but it itches like hell. Jackie Chan's are cheap slipper shoes with canvas tops glued to cardboard soles, named so because they look like kung fu shoes. They're made in China by Bob Barker Prison Supplies. I kid you not, the Price is Right, new to your cat guy, also owns institutional garment factories in China. So I take this bag, and I follow Mitchell down a hallway to a gymnasium-style locker room. There are a couple of benches and a few shower stalls. Mitchell instructs me to strip down, and I comply. He repeats several times quite forcefully that I'm also to take off my underwear. After I do a couple pirouettes for him, he commands the traditional up against the wall and spread 'em. Fortunately, he doesn't get knuckle deep, but he does get his nose all up in my business. Satisfied that the balloon knot is mine and not connected to a condom full of crack, he tells me to get dressed. He gathers up my street clothes, and I take one of the uniforms from the bag. The pants are way too long, and I have to roll them up until I have little tires around my ankles. The top is a V-neck tunic. Both are made out of coarse cotton, not quite blue jean material, but close. I follow Mitchell to the first holding cell. The cell is an 8x12 box with an open toilet and no windows. There are 2 benches, both occupied. There's a very old man laying on one, and 2 guys propped up asleep on the other. One of the guys propped up against the wall has a long strand of drool from the corner of his mouth the whole way to the floor, like 4 feet long. On the floor, a puddle a foot in diameter has accumulated. He hasn't moved in hours, and the drool just keeps on coming. There's a guy pacing frantically back and forth, occasionally stopping to laugh at Drool Man. The guy pacing, his name is Moselle. He's maybe 25. Moselle is in for trying to buy heroin from an undercover cop, the same sting operation that caught about 5 other guys in the cell. Moselle looks like he hasn't slept in days, and his frantic pacing makes him seem like he's pumped full of uppers. Behind Moselle is a guy on the floor, leaning against the wall. That's Furlong. He's 32 or 33, and is a been-there-done-that kind of guy. Moselle talks non-stop about how he's ready to turn his life around. This is the last time he's coming to jail. He's ready to get clean. Furlong is preaching the gospel of AA and the Big Book, and tells him not to mess around with Narcotics Anonymous, since they're not serious enough. One of the other guys chimes in and says that NA is filled with hot 18-year-old junkies from broken homes just looking for someone to take care of them. It's his favorite place to pick up chicks. Furlong agrees, and everyone has a good laugh, except for Drool Man since he's still asleep. Moselle and Furlong ramble on. Furlong has the 13 steps memorized in great detail. Everyone else is trying to get some sleep now. I find a space near the benches just big enough to curl into a fetal position. The rest of the floor real estate is occupado. There's even a guy curled in front of the toilet, so that you have to straddle him if you want to take a piss. His name's Dope Sick. For 3 days he doesn't do anything but puke and shiver. Dopesick is a heroin fentanyl junkie, and he's crashing hard. You shoot up with a dope fentanyl cocktail, and you're in for the ride of your life if it doesn't kill you first. Taz is in a similar bad way. Taz is one of the elder statesmen here, caught in the same bust as Moselle. He sleeps most of the first couple days, but at least he can keep his food down. I'm laying on the floor under the old guy on the bench when I realize that he smells like shit. An old redneck dude with less than 4 teeth scattered randomly in his craw. Whoever processed him let him keep his ratty old t-shirt, and it is foul. Campbell is right in front of the doorway. He's tall, like 6'2" or better, and there's no room on the floor for him to stretch out. The guards have a shift change, and the 2 clerks waddle their way home. The replacement COs are both guys. One has a huge torso, but has leg braces and crutches. He used to be a CERT. That stands for something like Corrections Emergency Response Team or something like that. Basically, they're the jail SWAT team, black uniforms and all. But he was permanently paralyzed by a prisoner in a brawl, so now he's relegated to paperwork duty. He's pretty friendly with the worker inmates, and they have it on good authority that he got a huge settlement out of it, and I should hope so. Periodically, a CO comes in and calls someone's name to continue the process. Fingerprinting, ID bracelet, and a medical questionnaire. When I'm called, the other clerk asks me if I have my prints on file, and I say no. So he hands me a card and says go to it. There's an ink pad mounted on the counter, and I print myself. After that, he takes my photo, and he prints out my ID bracelet. The bracelet is a thick plastic strip, and he wraps it around my wrist and puts 2 plastic rivets in it, locking it in place. You're not supposed to take it off ever, though he made it loose enough that I can slip my hand through. A few guys are so tight they're practically cutting off circulation. After that, I stand in front of the medical examiner's office and wait as he talks to another guy. The medical office is on the same hallway side as the holding cells, several doors up. There are 2 guys in the cube next to the main holding cell. The reason they're in there, one guy keeps shitting himself, and the other guy has scabies. Furlong says that right before I got there, they had everyone stand in the hallway while they sprayed the cells down with gasoline to kill the cooties. I listen to the inmate in the office answer questions, and it's a standard gambit. Then he asks the guy if he's ever been something like Section 302'd. The guy answers yes. Then they proceed through a whole series of medication questions. The guy's on about 30 different mood-stabilizing drugs. The doc asks if he's suicidal, and the guy pauses for about 30 seconds before he finally says, no. No. So he starts to get agitated at this point, and the guy asks for his medications. The doc tells him to calm down, he'll have to wait, presumably to confirm all these pill subscriptions. The guy stands up, shouting, I need my pills! So the doc comes out of the office and motions to the guard, who takes him down the hall to an isolated cell. So I go into the examiner's office and go through the routine. We get to the question about Section 302. I tell him I don't even know what that is. He says, you would know if it happened to you, because that's where the men in white coats come and take you to the loony bin. Those are his words, not mine. We continue, and he asks if I'm feeling suicidal. I say no, and he replies, that's good. If you had said yes, we would have to strip you naked and put you in a rubber room. So we finish the questions, and he draws some blood samples, and then that's it. I'm clear to move out of the holding cells and into the main jail. Well, in theory, anyway. The jail is overcrowded, so like everybody else down here, I have to wait for someone to be released before I can get a bed. I go back to the holding cell, and after a couple hours of kissing concrete, a guard and an inmate worker come around with a cart of paper bag lunches. Inside is a packet of mustard, a sandwich bag with 2 pieces of bread, a sandwich bag with 2 pieces of bologna, and an 8-ounce carton of iced tea. The bologna smells funky, but the stanky old dude gleefully accepts my offer. So I eat a mustard sandwich and try to go back to sleep. Campbell muses about the slim pickings of the meal, and he does the same. Like I said, he's too tall to stretch out, so he adopts a strange position. He's laying on his back, with the soles of his feet in his Jackie Chan's pressed together, then drawn up into his crotch. Within minutes he's sawing logs. It's the kind of snoring you hear in cartoons. Savoy cracks up over it. Savoy is a skinny, black, 19-year-old kid. He's been quiet so far, but once Moselle settles down, Savoy starts up. A couple more hours pass with little activity. It's hard to gauge the passage of time since there are no windows, and no one has a watch. Finally, a real CERT guy comes to the door. His name's Reagan, and he tells us to pack up our stuff. We're moving to a different cell.